Welcome to Abnormal Truth, the Third Degree. Join us as we take a journey through the esoteric. Here's AT himself.
What's going on, guys? Abnormal Truth here. We're doing the second episode of the Third Degree, and tonight we will be giving space, just in general, the third degree. And with us, my co-host is Exhibit X, and he's going to bring us into our first point about what we're going to be doing tonight. Go ahead, Exhibit.
Thank you, AT. Good to be here tonight. I'm ready to take on space hoaxes, man. This is one of my favorite subjects ever. And also brought on mainly by the flat earthers around the world, came together and just started debunking the hell out of some of these wonderful, wonderful videos that we see coming from NASA. And but before we start doing anything, I'd really like to just show a small clip from a video, and I'm just going to go over to that real fast, and we're going to have a listen to what Neil Armstrong has to say.
I just see it as a beginning, not just this flight, but in this program, which has really been a very short piece of human history, an instant in history, the entire program. It's a beginning of a new age.
And that was Neil Armstrong's wonderful press conference that they gave during the return from the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. And that is definitely not the face of someone who is very happy and pleased about what's happened. Wouldn't you say, AT?
Yeah, I've heard that being brought up before, and well, just think about it. What if you and I were the first ones to land and come back? We're freaking heroes. I mean, what did they see or did not see when they went up there? I mean, that's a huge red flag, and that's a good point because take a look at that video for yourself and tell me if those men look like they're happy or I mean, they look depressed.
He also said something very profound there. I know you couldn't hear it, AT. What he said right before he looks down in shame is he says, "This is the beginning of a new age." And I thought that was rather prophetic of him to say that. And he knew the the impact that they have had and what they had done, in my opinion, obviously. And none of this is proven to be fact. Okay, we just want to put that out there as At and I've just have conversations about the strange, the unusual, the wonderful things that happen in our world that are mysterious that you just can't explain. That's what we discuss, and we don't necessarily believe everything that we highlight or showcase during our conversations. Just want to make that clear. But we do absolutely give them the workover and thus the third degree.
Yeah, hey, one more I'd like to add to that. Just uh, ex- uh, X and I are both generalists, so we're not specialists in one thing. I think a lot of researchers are either 9/11 truthers, or you got your, ghost hunters, and a lot of people get locked into one subject. X and I just enjoy looking into everything. And like he said, just because we're looking into it, we are not saying it's real. In fact, will hear us say often that we don't believe this is actually real. But we have a lot of fun just looking at all the different stuff and trying to get the big picture, because there sure are a lot of strange things that happen on our earth here, and we need to figure out why. Where's it all coming from?
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to head over to some awesome pictures that I've dug up and been working on, and I'm going to show you something really cool. And so just let me switch over to that real fast. There we go. All right. You're probably wondering why you're looking at a beer. First of all, let me say I am a graphic design artist. I've been uh, making graphics for over 20 years. I'm also a designer, and I make everything from vector art to hand drawn uh, organics to just regular clip art to 3D. I do it all, and I've been doing this a very, very, very long time. So, with that said, that is my credentials, so to speak, and just to show that I do know what I'm talking about. And I'm gonna bring up some stuff here. And by the way, I have a dog, and he snores. And if you hear somebody snoring, that's not a somebody, that's a something. Just want to point that out. There ain't nothing moving my dog once he starts snoring. So, yeah. So if you hear that, I apologize. So let me start off with a very famous photo. Everybody knows this photo, right? That is Buzz Aldrin, I believe, on the surface of the moon, Apollo 11. Now, it is extremely easy to fake photos. And I'm going to show you a few things that are wrong with this photo. But before we do that, I just want to show you how easy it is to falsify a photo in this day and age, right now. And let's just take a look in this man's visor right here. Now there's a second person on the
It's got to be an alien because he's not wearing a suit. He can just breathe.
I thought he kind of looked a little bit like Captain Kirk.
You know
there.
what's weird? I don't know if I've ever seen that or not. It's like hauntingly familiar, but yeah, that should tell you something, folks. Now, yeah, so
Now,
that's from an actual. This picture was actually put out as an official picture of Aldrin on the moon, right?
right. And then I just altered it and added the little man, which you can see I can take away anytime I want,
That's funny.
just to show you how easy it is
That's
to
Yeah,
do that.
that's totally. It's just
And
a
it
layer, right?
right, and it looks completely convincing. I mean, and you cannot hardly tell at all that that does not belong in that picture, and even has a
If you
shadow.
if you put that out, for instance, that would probably go viral. Even though somebody could prove that it was, edited, but it'd still go viral. Whether or not everybody believed it or not, it's still that's hilarious.
Well, a couple of things about this photo is, for one, I want you to look at the footsteps here. This is how loose the soil is on the moon, supposedly. And if we, let me just move some things out of the way here, if you don't mind. There we go.
They describe it as what, almost like being flour
Right.
or
I mean,
yeah.
you can see how deep, the foot here went into the regolith. I think that's what it's called. Well, we go over here and I scroll up and you can see the tracks running through here. Okay, it's not as deep as his foot, but it's something in motion. It may not, have that. I counted that in what I was trying to get into this, but I also noticed the tracks stop completely right here, like they were going to put it up to here, but they
Oh, I see what you mean now. Did you notice this, X? Was this?
Yes.
I mean, you didn't see this on anybody else's channel
Oh
or
no,
anything else?
I got several I've never seen on anybody's channel. I'm going to point out here
Dude,
tonight.
that is. I'm sorry, but that's a good find.
I thought
Go
maybe.
on. I just had to clarify because you didn't tell me.
No, I didn't tell you this.
You didn't tell me you had this, so I'm seeing this for the first time. But I see what you mean, man. Go ahead on that. Yeah.
All right, I want to draw some attention to these things. They're called registration marks. That's these X's here. These guys right here are actually um, etched onto the lens. These things right here, they're etched into the lens so that they can figure out what's what, and how far away something is, how something, and etc. I mean, they use it. Put it that way. I don't want to get into the specifics. That's too, you know.
Big point is those are etched on there and they do not ever move.
That is
They're
correct.
fixed. Nothing, and correct me if I'm wrong, nothing should be in front of those. That should always be visible, correct? Everything should be, nothing should be covering that up.
That's
in the
right.
photo.
And in this photo, that's exactly what we see. Tons of registration marks. You'll see them down here. You'll see them over there. They're everywhere.
And are those new registration marks you found? Because the ones I know about aren't those same pictures. So are these like new ones that you found?
These are not new. These are just run of the
Okay.
mill, nothing
But
new.
they're still different than I've seen, though. I mean, because
They do look a bit sharp from what I remember, but that's what I'm going to get into next. And I'm going to show you something that surprised me. I've never seen this before either. So let me just move on to the next one here.
and what you got to realize is this kind of photo manipulation done back then would have been advanced. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
That's why, though, they were so limited. That I believe that's why we can find a ton of mistakes in all these. If you pick it apart with the shadows and all that,
That's correct.
it's because it was awesome that they even did some of these things, really, if you think about, but it's totally not impossible with the budgets they have for sure.
Oh, if you have an unlimited budget, you do anything you want. And that's the way it works.
And especially something like this. I mean, come on.
So, this is the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module. And we'll get into more of that in a minute. But here's something I noticed on this picture that I have not seen anywhere else before. The first thing I started looking at was this white bag. And you'll see a registration mark. That's what this black X is, right? Let's see if I can mark it for you real fast. Just a moment. That's what this is right here. That is a registration mark.
Okay.
All right. Just like on the last photo. All those little X's all over the screen. Or pluses, if you want to call them that. So, I move forward here into this, and I was noticing this bag is tied with a very tiny string. And first thing I asked myself is, how are they going to, either tie this or untie this with those gloves on? I mean, those gloves it's like wearing a balloon on your hand. It cannot be easy to do this. I don't know what's in this bag. I didn't get it that deep into it. But that got me thinking about this, so I started moving around a bit on the screen. Then I started following the registration marks. There's another one right here. That would be, I'm just going to circle them. Right there's one. And they should all be evenly spaced. And now, where's this one? And I'm going to show you where it is. It's right here. It's half cut off. There's nothing in the middle of it.
And see, I would imagine that only happens in the certain pictures that they did edit, right? And only in like some of the areas that they edited in. So is that next one have a disappearing part of the mark also to the right there?
Absolutely. There's one that's right here. It runs all the way down to here, and it runs all the way across here. There's another one here. That's impossible. You can't have that many together. So I'm gonna step forward there. Hang on. There we go. So
I was
there's
about to
one.
say the bigger mark shouldn't be there, right? And does it normally have a bigger mark right there next to another one? I thought they were all the same size.
That's what I thought. They're
Okay.
except for the one in the middle. The one in the middle is slightly larger.
Okay.
Now
I
we
can
got
see
another
that.
one. That one's got some missing parts at the top. And let me see, we're getting to the end of this photo. But, oh, and I'm not done yet. There's more. There's another one right there that's missing part of it.
No, it's missing a lot.
All right, so now we're seeing they're all over the place. Look at how they're not in line. I'm just going to circle them so that when we come out here and look at them in from far away, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now there's a registration mark that's full. It's a complete X or plus symbol. And then they start working back in again. There's another one.
Strange because just notice the one that was full happened to be in the shadows.
Right. And so is that one. That one's okay too. And I can't really see any more from there. But now let me back out.
I'm still wondering what's in the mystery bag. Somebody's
Nothing.
lunch, their dirty gym clothes.
I think it's laundry.
What's in there?
So we have the line that goes like this. Wait, I'm not a great line drawer here. But this is supposed to be a perfectly straight line, and there's not supposed to be this many of them for one. So this is really hard to see. I apologize. This is that green. I'll change the color of it in just a moment. I'll make it bright pink or something. Just a moment. There we go. How about red? Now you can see it's all over the place. But it doesn't stop there. That got me looking at the bell. And then I found that there's actually evidence, true evidence that they've been touching the photos. You can see, just a moment, right in this area, right here, half of the bell some of the bell edge is actually missing from the photo.
I see it.
And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more.
So what do you think they were doing? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, can you tell by any of this what exactly they were airbrushing out or adding? Is it all CGI? What were they editing? Or are there any even clues to what they could have been doing from seeing this? Because this is new to me in the way that you have found several of them in pictures and they're misaligned. These registration marks were all in certain areas of the camera's view.
Right.
They're not just randomly placed on there. They're for measurements and things like that, right?
Right. And so they can measure things. If they know the distance from the camera, they can measure, how big something is.
Yeah, just another thing that I've thought of that's been out there a while is how did they get such great shots with that camera mounted outside their spacesuit anyway? There's no way for them to really look through a viewfinder or anything. It was just shoot from the chest. And yet they got all these great pictures, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Just
impossible.
Yeah, and I mean, would the camera even work? I've even watched a documentary about the company. I forgot the name. The company that made the cameras for him, supposedly.
Has a
And
black.
then, that yes, thank you. And of course, technically, you can make anything seem possible, or just contract a camera manufacturer and give them some specs.
Right.
But anyway, I think this was the first evidence, and probably you too. This was the first evidence about the moon landing. To me, were the photos. People showing how shadows were wrong, and there's just hundreds of things now.
Look at the registration mark. It's crooked. It's.
Hmm.
I mean,
So, can you get any clues to what at all, like what they were doing? Okay, now you're kind of doing an outline of the bottom of the whole lander.
right. It's all near the bottom, and there is something at the top that. Well, not in this picture. A different picture of the limb. Um, different photo, but I mean, it's all near the
Okay.
bottom of this. It
Does
seems.
does it seem like the whole lander was layered on that ground?
It
Or
possibly could have been. Now you got to understand that in the late '60s, when photo editing happened, they had to do it on the negative level. They had to actually stitch things together. They didn't have Photoshop or anything like that. This is not computerized unless they had that and we didn't know it.
right. So what kind of I'm just trying to get a general idea of what they actually did. Like, did they superimpose this lander on top of another image that looked like the moon's surface? And then, of course, everybody should know that background we're looking at right now. They cut that off, and there's strange things if you do the contrast and everything to the night sky. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think they were doing some layering somehow or something, right?
What
I
I would
remember.
say,
Go ahead.
if I had to take a guess, if I were just now, this is like I said, a complete guess. This is not
Yeah, that's
fact.
all I'm asking for. Like, I was just, is there any clues?
I would say they were airbrushing something out of the picture that was probably running underneath the limb, like
That makes a lot of sense.
like a cable or something like
Mm.
that, like cabling running across through here. I mean, look at how the lines line up,
So you
and
don't think it would be the ground itself? You think it would have been an object?
right, like maybe an extension cable or power, power cords or something. You can't have a drop cord on the moon, so you'd have to get rid of that. And this is such a good shot, an unbelievably good shot that just looks completely fake to me. By the way, that does not look
Oh,
real.
so I want to share my screen in a moment because I've got something that pertains to this a little bit. It's in the
All
same.
right. All right, before we switch over to you, I just want to point out one last thing on this. The light also stops at the where the black starts. There's no uh, shine. There's no lens flare that goes past the this area right over here. Let me draw. That's another thing I found wrong with this. This right here, there's a light shaft that's running right down through here, and it just stops right here. It doesn't go any further, which of course is impossible. So I do think that this is cropped and put in somehow, and for whatever
The
reason.
the background or what is cropped?
Oh yeah, That background is
Yeah.
definitely put in there. That is not part of this photo because I mean you could tell that just by that
Well,
lens flare.
well, it just doesn't match up because you can't see the stars in the pictures, but the astronauts, I think and correct me if I am wrong, I listened to a million different videos, but I believe I heard the astronauts saying that they could see the stars with their eyes, but for some reason the camera doesn't pick them up.
Right. They said that well one of them said they could see stars, then they said they couldn't see stars. They couldn't make up their
Yes.
minds.
I mean, really, you would either see the stars and it would be beautiful and awesome, or you wouldn't. But you could argue whether a camera would pick it up, I guess, because I am no photo expert, But I
Right.
know I think I've heard the explanation where they were dim for the camera to pick it up because the camera had to be taking at a certain like brightness or whatever to compensate for the brightness on the moon.
Right.
That I believe that's what I've heard. But yeah, this is a great find you have here because this is a super example of the registration marks. This is better than the documentaries I've seen on TV. The first time I heard about these, and sometimes
Right.
they're not correct. Those should always be clear marks, and they should be in a random measured distance from each other, and this is just all over the place. Very messy,
And some of them are
actually,
big, some of them are
isn't it?
small. Oh, it's horrible. And you're right. By the way, just to be clear, all of my pictures were gotten from NASA, every one of them. I'm not gonna bother giving links and stuff for that. If you're interested in that, just head over to NASA, .gov. They got tons of limb pictures and everything else you want, and they'll be happy to give them to you, and you can tear them apart yourself. You ready for me to share your screen there, At?
Yeah, I'm
All right,
ready.
all right. Let's switch it over to At. See what he's got to show us. There we go. You're
All
live.
right, so this won't take long, but I've mentioned this in one of my videos that I've done previously. This is a picture of the lander, and a lot of times you'll see a smaller picture like this if you've ever looked it up on the webs. And when you start blowing this thing up, I mean, really check this out. Is this thing really space worthy? Because this looks like construction paper, and hey, I could be wrong. This could be super construction paper that withstands the extreme heat and cold. I believe on the moon it's what over 200 Fahrenheit and also minus 200 Fahrenheit degrees, right?
Yes,
And
it is.
that's extreme. I would not want to be in those extreme conditions where the temperatures fluctuate that much. I mean, my goodness, the if it's 110 here where I live, I'm about to die. But look at the tin foil always worked for me, right? Before I recognized all this, because it's tin NASA, you know, space foil, you know.
Right.
But when you see the tape that's holding it all together, I'm not used to this program. I should have used another one, but I think I can get around. You see the tape that's holding on everything. I mean, really, you tape up your spacecraft. Over here's the best example over here on this construction paper. I'm sure there's a good reason for all this, and this was just an extra covering. There's got to be a good explanation for it. But look what a crappy tape job it is in some areas. And look, why just a little piece of tape there, this gold tape.
Right.
And look how it is, though. They did a straight line there. And
Their
some
space
more.
tape
I mean,
is crazy, man. I mean,
oh, I know it. It's just, I don't know why it's not out on the market now, all these years. And it's amazing because in this one thing you could go, why is there not dust on the legs? Where's the crater? This thing has a huge engine, which would have created. I mean, listen to him when he's landing. For one thing, when he's landing in this thing, you should not even be able to understand him.
That's true.
Strap a rocket onto your craft and try to use your cell phone.
Right.
Right? And this thing doesn't look very insulated to me. Do you think it's got some good insulation going on? I don't know. It looks very. Anyway, I had to bring that up because it's obvious. Look at it. It is a crappy spaceship. I don't understand how it ever went anywhere.
If
But anyway,
you were hiring me to go to the moon and you said this is what I'm going in, I wouldn't go. I mean, that's
I
just
wouldn't
serious.
know. I would laugh and go, "No, I'm sorry.
It looks like
I'm
a
not getting in
junkie.
there." I don't want to go in there just to go in there. Like if that was somebody's playhouse in their backyard, I'd be like, I'm not, I think I'm too heavy because it looks like if I go in there, it's just gonna fall down on me.
That's
And
really
so forget
that's perfect.
space. Yeah, forget space and all that. I wouldn't get in that if it was, in the
Right.
backyard somewhere. So yeah, I just had to show that because I think people should really look because there are hundreds of examples like this, and X is fixing to go on to the next one and show you some more examples because the more you look at this stuff, the more you realize that something's wrong. Something's
Absolutely.
very wrong. So go ahead and
All right.
on back to you.
Okay. So, and like you said, there is something wrong, and I noticed it immediately. And I'm going to show you something here that just all of this, everything on this is just not right. And I'm gonna ask you, At, which one of those Earths is real?
All right. Oh, are you talking about on the screen right now?
Yeah, which one of those is absolutely the Earth?
They are all exactly the same.
Yes, they are. And I got an easy answer for you.
I'm gonna say
None of them. None of those are real. I actually was, I put those in there. The actual real picture looks like that. This is the real picture. This is Apollo 11, I believe. And they took the picture of the Earth from the moon. I think this is Apollo 11. Don't quote me on that, please.
And that was supposed to be the money shot. Yeah, and again, we're generalists.
Right.
We're not space specialists.
No, I'm not a specialist.
We're just trying to look at this and see what's up because I personally, I don't know about you, X, but I want everybody to realize this, don't you? Or at least to acknowledge that something's wrong and we've been deceived. I mean, it's evident if you really look
Absolutely.
into it. I promise if you look into it with an open mind, you're going to start seeing hundreds of things that are wrong with all of this. And then you'll have some questions.
Yes, I did. And that's what got me started on this because, my background in graphic design really made me start looking at this stuff. And I'm going to show you some things wrong with this picture. For one, that looks like a low quality 3D texture to me. If you look at it closely, I mean, it just looks like a 3D texture. Like it's just a map, a 3D, it's called a UV map, just laid on top of geometry. Like they took a picture of something and laid it down over something.
Use that like a lot in video games, that type of thing, right?
That is correct. And I've actually done this type of thing, and which I'm going to show you in a minute. So, as I was saying, I've done this type of stuff before. I work in 3D. I can create all kinds of things in 3D. I could create this in my sleep. And some of the things that jumped out immediately for one was, low quality 3D texture, possibly. But here's another big one. Let me scroll up a bit here. That is a true black background. That's impossible.
Yep,
You
I've
take
heard that.
you take a picture of anything, you have film grain, you have something. I mean, I'm going to zoom down to the micro level on this. There's nothing. It is pure, true, 000 black, and I'm going to show
The
you.
only way I know to achieve that is to paint bucket or whatever the selected layer, right, and
Right.
put black in there. You
It
know.
it should be more like, off black. There should be some differences from where the sun is. There should be something. And there's nothing. There's no stars. There's just absolutely nothing there. It's just black. And that is not, that's not possible in my opinion. Next is there's no shadows anywhere on the surface of this. Nowhere. There's not a single shadow anywhere on here. It's like it's just area lit. And
It's actually kind of crappy when you realize, you know, it's not even a good job, is what I'm trying to say.
right. In fact, it's a horrible job. And I'm going to show you another one here. Let me just get it real fast. All right. There's my recreation. I made this. And it's indistinguishable from the other, but there's one difference. When I'm using a light, like as a sun, in my 3D rendering engine, there is no position I can put that sun where there is no shadows.
I get what you're saying.
There's shadows always, no matter, it would have to be perfect lined up over the top of it for there to be no shadows, and that's just not possible. So this is the original. This is my recreation. Original.
Yours is better.
And mine's actually better than theirs.
Yes.
And okay, granted, I'm using software, from this day and
Yeah.
age. But I mean, if they could create this back then, if this is from that era, I'm believing that is, unless this is one of those Chinese shots, which also made my eyebrows raise.
Well, it's like people don't believe everything they see in photos, but once it's on TV and put out by an official source, they don't even question it. And if you see a picture of a UFO, you got to go, hey, it could be photoshopped, especially the real good ones that are close up. Usually you got to go,
Yep.
So, I mean, really, I think, and I think there's a whole wave of people now who are seeing that and realizing that, not everything they see on TV is questionable. And I think it's my hope that that only grows and blows up until it's almost everyone. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
people think they're alone out there because maybe they don't know somebody personally out there in their hometown or whatever that you can talk to about this kind of thing. But just look at the number of hits on all these modern conspiracies and stuff like that. There are a lot of people waking up. I just had to say that because I see it.
Oh, it jumped out at me, and once I saw it, that was it. I had to find out more. And the more I looked, see, I'm the kind of person where I was like, yeah, we went to the moon. I still hope we went to the moon. Maybe the first time we didn't. Maybe the second time we did. I don't know. I still, I hope we went. But, so I'm the
One
exact
thing,
opposite.
one thing, I don't think I've ever seen this picture before, but after a while you get to where you have an eye for stuff.
Oh,
And that fender, well, I guess they could have done patchwork, but what's up with that fender with the duct tape on it? Something's off there.
okay. The
They could have made
story.
a repair. Okay.
The story is, now I'm going to show you a lot of things wrong with this picture, but this is actually a famous picture. This is they had damaged the rover's fender while joyriding on the moon, supposedly, and they took a piece of extra flashing from something. I can't remember what it was from, and they just duct taped it on there because, you know, they had to fix it, which really they didn't have to fix it. You know what I'm saying? It's on the back. It's not going to hurt anything. So, I mean, they have dust everywhere anyway. It's like it's not going to get into something. But anyway, that's beside the point. They wanted to show that they could do this in space, basically. So they took some duct tape, they taped it together, and then they clamped it onto the other part of the fender here, which you can see the clamp, to hold it on. Everything's fine and great and all, but the more I looked at this, the more something didn't look right. And well, I've heard of this one before. Number one, there's no tire tracks. Now this one I did know. This was not something that I found. There's no tire tracks. So
That's impossible. There's got to be tracks. I mean, you see footprints right there.
right.
Why wouldn't there be tire tracks? Very suspicious, yes.
And this
More
is-
than suspicious.
And this is not where they
Damn
put
it.
it together. Deceit.
Yeah, straight up deceit.
So you have footprints right there, and you know, and this is not concrete. This is like the consistency of flour. You blow on this too hard, it's going to move. So this looks like it was just placed. You know, you can see displacement right through here of the soil. You know, it's bowing over a bit right through here. Let me switch over my color here.
And that's it. And that's it. There's no tracks.
No tracks from in front or behind. I wanted to make sure they didn't back it up, you know. Because I thought, well, maybe they backed it up. And nope, there's no tracks in this area at all. So, which got me to wanting to find what else was wrong with this picture. So I started looking. And now this is a stretch and a reach, but I have got to show this. I think this is the most weird thing I think I've ever seen, and it's right here. And it makes complete sense to me when I think about it. This stuff is regolith. It sticks to everything, okay? It's almost like fingerprint powder. Fingerprint powder. Possibly fingerprints right here. Now I'm just going to draw some circles around that. Let me get rid of that. One fingerprint. Fingerprints right here. And a possible fingerprint right here. Now I'm going to come in a little bit closer on that. So you can see that. That looks like a typical oval type fingerprint right through here. I'm just going to outline it. Just like you see on a, you know, when someone takes your fingerprint or whenever you've taken your own. Begs the question, how do fingerprints get on something like this if that is indeed a fingerprint in the vacuum of outer space? You take off your glove, your hand's going to swell up 10 times its size, your blood's going to boil in it, and it's going to probably split open. That's what happens, evidently, in the vacuum of space. So, if
Get
this...
a bad case of asphyxiation.
So if this is actually what I think it is, which does certainly look that way, it looks like fingerprints. And regolith would stick to this stuff like fingerprint powder. It would show up. And the only way that's going to stick to anything is if there's contaminants there for it to stick to, which oils on fingers and hands and stuff are contaminant, and it would stick to it. Now you would say, okay, like I did, you know, maybe the fingerprints were on there before they got there, and that's also impossible. These guys wore hermetic suits with, you know, so that even a single hair would not get into the building of their spacecraft. Every man wore gloves, hairnets, white paper suits, so they could throw them away at the end of the day. So, if that's a fingerprint, we're looking at something quite interesting.
So what you're saying is, and if those are fingerprints, yeah, that was something they fixed on the moon. There should be no fingerprints on there because they wore these big gloves.
Right.
And are you sure those are? Because I guess a glove could leave a fingerprint if it didn't fully. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like if
had
you just.
considered that, but they would have to have some kind of contaminant on their hand, like oils from your fingers, for the
So
regolith to stick to.
they wouldn't have moon dust all over their gloves from handling moon rocks and stuff like that.
Uh, I don't think that it would actually stick in this type of pattern. If you've ever
Well,
looked at the gloves, it doesn't really have that
they do.
shape.
From what I remember, they had lines going across, kind of like little grippy, right?
Could have,
The
or at the very
the
least, the texture.
fingerprints of the gloves. Yeah, I think that they had ridges, or so it would have made that pattern if that was their gloves. That's
That's
very
right.
interesting. That's very
Very.
interesting.
The next part is down here on the wheel.
I think we're giving space the real third degree,
Yeah,
though.
this is getting a serious third degree.
Right.
I had all week to prep for this, and I had also, admittedly, going into this before on my own. But
Well,
man,
if everyone can't tell, yeah, there's something seriously wrong because all of these things that we're talking about add up,
they do.
and until you can't deny that it's all trickery. It's a movie. It's a production. So go ahead. Is there anything else weird with this photo?
Oh, absolutely. There's no water on the moon because water
There's no
in
precipitation at all.
right. And to me, as soon as I saw this kind of reminded me of water drops that have fallen into like mud or wet.
Where the drop separates and
Right.
reveals the thin layer of dust and reveals the surface under.
And you can see that all the evidence is all through here, all the way through here. This looks like it was sprayed down with something, and the dust was like thrown on there, and to make it look like it had been used, obviously.
Did you ever notice that they look like they were just pedal to the metal when they were driving this thing, like it was kicking up dust? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was like they just went full ATV with this thing everywhere they went. I mean, and of course, I guess you would have to if you were traveling around on the moon and you've got real fine powder kind of dust going on. I get that you would kind of have to gun it. I just think it's funny because every time I remember seeing a picture or video, they're just really gunning this thing.
They are, and that also makes me think, that's not being very
Battery
careful.
power? Hold on.
And
Uh,
batteries, oh boy.
wait a minute. I may have just stumbled onto something. How do you have that much power on a battery operated vehicle? Very weird. I don't know. Am I? Ah,
Are those
what do you
batteries? I
think?
don't. Man,
Well,
there's
what
no
else would
way.
it? Did they carry gas up there? It could be gas powered. I'm just assuming not. They did everything else with batteries supposedly in that whole spacecraft, right? And you got to think how bad our batteries are really now.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! I mean, we didn't even have lithium ion polymer batteries, any of that
Nope.
back in 1969.
But yet it was running everything, their life support systems, all of that.
I mean, think about it. This looks like
Heavy. They're
battery,
heavy. Batteries are heavy.
right?
Very heavy.
I would expect half the vehicle to be batteries, at least. And they what? How long did they drive it for? Like 3 days? That's impossible. I can't even get a golf cart on one charge to go for 3
I was
days.
trying to think about. I grew up near a golf course, and they do have a little kick to them. You know,
Right?
I don't know, but it just seems like they're kicking up a lot of dust really high, and that could be just because it's supposed to be really fine dust. But yeah,
The next thing are these areas right through here. Now, I don't know if that's painted on there or if that's some kind of sealant on the edges or whatever, but it kind of looks like it's supposed to look like dirt. It make it look
kind
dirty.
of like some Star Wars would do.
Right.
Lucas.
Exactly. Yes, precisely. You can see it all along down through here. And it's right around the sides here. This actually has some texture to it right there, so that actually may be real. But I find it really odd that it's like right on these edges and around these, like on the Millennium Falcon or something, like what you're saying.
Right. Why isn't it, in the space in between the bottom part and the top part?
And
It's like it collected around that hub.
it's just weird. Very, very strange about how, this all comes together. It just sticks out to me. And by the way, excellent bringing up the batteries. I mean, absolutely, there's no friggin' way they're going to be able to ride this thing full tilt for that many days. I mean, they
They're
didn't want
gunning
to.
that thing. They are gunning that thing. It's wide open every time they're driving it. Seems like.
And also think about, you're in the vacuum of outer space. What happens if you flip over? You could rip your suit. You could break an arm. Who knows what could happen?
That's true. But on the other hand, I think that I'm just imagining from my days of riding motorcycles and ATVs, you would have to try to get some speed if you were traveling on a surface like that.
I agree.
Right. But it looks like they slowed the video down by half speed. Right? Have you seen that where they look
Yes.
like they're jumping around? I think it's the same thing with that rover. Is that what they call it, the rover?
The rover. But we're going to have to switch gears, man. I'm ready to go to the next subject, and I got some cool stuff to share with you on Mars. There we go. This is an official picture from NASA, obviously. As I told you, I got all my pictures from NASA. And it looks like Mars, precisely. Now, this little trick I did not come up with this on my own. I just decided to test it. The trick is you can take pictures, older pictures of pictures from Mars, and go to your image adjustments and choose auto color. And now look at that. One click and it looks like Earth.
Yeah. It looks like, what would that be?
That could be Mojave Desert. That could be Pakistan. That could be anywhere on the Earth. Anywhere.
And just one click brought all that color back.
Just one click.
So all they did was run a filter on it.
That's the way it looks. And I'm not saying that's what it actually is. I mean, this could be, just the algorithm of the processing power. I mean, the algorithm of the photo editing software adjusting and making corrections, putting it back to where it thinks that's what the color should be. But
Well,
I just find it really weird.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but if I was running the program, you would think we would get some bases on the moon and have like this starting point to get to Mars too. Like you could ship materials and you could even build the ship that was going to Mars maybe in space. I don't understand why we haven't even been back to the moon, but yet we just keep talking about going to Mars.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing just reeks.
There is a
And
lot of talk about going to Mars.
yes, I mean, they're going to, right? I mean, they're saying that they're going to. They're talking about getting crews together and all this. And there's a lot of money spent on it already, I'm sure. Just them thinking about it going to Mars. So
Right.
it keeps reoccurring in the news also, right?
Yes,
I
it
mean, you're
does.
gonna hear about Mars every once in a while in the news for sure.
Let me see what I wanted to get with this one. Okay, so you can see that just with one click, you can make most, not all, pictures of the Mars surface just instantly look like it could be anywhere in the world. So, with that in mind, I started looking around a bit more, and I ran across this photo. Now, I tried the same trick with this one. And what I get is nothing. So that got me thinking, okay, well then how did they, you know, if this is faked, I mean, I looked at it like it's faked. How is it faked? So I went and looked and see how it could be faked, and I did find the way that it could be faked. It could just be completely, the color has been taken out and it's been completely replaced. And by that I mean, I'll show you how that's done.
Like they did a better job.
Yeah. Like now they're learning that, oh, we could do it a different way instead of just removing blue. How about we just colorize the whole thing? Now we're on a different planet. This could be Venus.
Yeah.
So I was able to pull color back in, but it was artificially. And I can jack the blue back up, start getting the color of the sky to actually turn blue again, if it was in fact blue to begin with. Other than that, so it just seems like they're evolving, getting better at what they're doing, or this is a real picture of Mars. Could they have taken like two different layers, perhaps? Like a far off picture from somewhere, and then overlaid this front picture on another one.
Like they do with the moon.
Right.
It's like their MO. It's the way they've always done it, right? It's like they'll do that back, just like in the movies they do that a lot, right?
Right.
The actual beautiful background you're seeing in the distance, is rendered.
Right. This could be the only real picture, real part of this picture. Those tire tracks here do not go past that point. They actually turn to the right over here. Let me see if I can get over here. I'm moving up. See, now you can see the tire tracks are over here, and they come over through here. I thought they stopped at first, but they are over here. Then they come over here.
I see.
And then I did find something kind of strange, though. That. I thought that was... I mean, I'm looking at this from an engineer's point of view, okay? I'm telling this thing, it takes 20 minutes or whatever to tell it what I want it to do. I want it to go 50 feet south, southwest at Barron, whatever, and then stop and then turn and do another one, right? Those are the commands I'm giving it. But
Well, their Wi-Fi is so awesome that they can do that from the Earth to Mars. But I can't go past my driveway and use my cell phone on Wi-Fi.
I know.
They have awesome stuff over there at NASA.
They just know what they're doing, evidently. So we have this big, gigantic rock. I mean, that thing is as big as the tire tracks. And it's not been moved. It hasn't... I don't see any evidence that it's been shifted. There's no, disturbance of the soil. Nothing.
I gotta say that rock you pointed out to the right there, yeah, it's kind of big for it to just roll over.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it could do it, from what I have seen. But would you want to risk it? I mean, they know it's there. They're going to tell it to go that way. It's one of the biggest rocks in the way. I mean, I, I mean, it's like aim for the big rock. That's what it
Yeah,
looks like.
there's no attempt to avoid it. And there's another one
Yes, there is. That's what I was
right
about to
there in the
say.
track. I
They're
saw that one. I noticed that when I first started, but it looks like it could easily be ran over because it's like not smack dab. That other one's so huge. It's just laying in the track, you know.
right, and it
And you're
doesn't look
right.
like
The
it
thing
moved.
probably, yeah, the thing could crawl over that, but yeah, it hasn't been moved.
I mean, you would not aim for the biggest rock.
So what are you seeing there?
This is one that I found earlier today. I'm not sure what it is. I'm just going to outline it in black here just so you can see it. It's just, I thought it was weird. Now, this is when we start getting into, is this a hoax? Is this actually somewhere on Earth? Is this on Mars? I mean, I don't know, but here we go. Take that for what you want right in this area. I just thought it was kind of weird the way that looked. And but there, I did find one thing, and I'm trying to see if I can locate it real fast. Okay, there it is. Okay, you probably don't see it right away. First thing you see is that weird rock. Okay, I thought, okay, that's a weird rock. That's what brought my attention to this area. But then I saw this. This right here.
Am I weird that I see a dwarf's face?
Nope, nope. You're gonna see all kinds of stuff here. But this is what I saw. And you have to show me your dwarf's face in a second. I saw this piece right here sticking up, and I thought, well, it kind of looks a little bit like it's hollow, and there's like crap.
Like black tubing.
Right. And then I started outlining it out, and I thought, okay, let me just see if I can complete it and if it looks right. So I started drawing it around. And then I just went down like that. And there you go.
It's either a cylindrical object or some tubing that it's buried in the ground and the top of it sticking out.
Or it
That's
could be a
strange. That
barrel.
shouldn't. Right. It should not be occurring naturally. I mean, there's just so many anomalous pictures like that of Mars that, it's it's like, what's going on there? Is it even taken from Mars?
That is correct, man. I mean, you can see what you want to see. That's one really good example. You can see a dwarf face. I can see a woman's face. But there's certain things that you can see that you just know you cannot mistake for something else. You are live.
All right, so this is Crow 777's channel, and I just wanted to briefly mention this. And he has discovered a few things, but he's more well known for the lunar wave. Have you ever heard of that, X?
I have, and I have watched his video.
Right, and one of the first times I looked through a telescope, I actually saw that, and I mean like a 2 or 3, 4, 5 seconds after I put my eye in the viewfinder, it happened. And I remember raising up going, because it kind of reminded me of a TV or something, right? Because
Right.
it starts from the bottom and goes up, and it's really strange. But I asked everybody. I mean, I was sitting there looking, and it happened so soon after I put my eye in there that I had to turn around and go, is that supposed to happen? Because how does that happen?
Right.
And so the first time I heard about this lunar wave, I was interested. And I think it's just one little other thing that just goes to show you we may not, don't be too sure that everything you know about space is correct. There seems to be a big lie. And this lunar wave thing, if you check out Crow 777's YouTube channel, it just makes you think, is it a hologram? He also shows you that the moon is apparently transparent because you can see stars through the darker spots on the moon. You know how the moon has these dark spots on it?
Right.
It's also showing stars showing through the moon. How does that happen?
That would be a layering problem. Absolutely.
Something very strange. There are so many weird facts about the moon that it's something that shouldn't be there, really.
We should do an episode um, pinpointing some of those things. Uh, we normally probably wouldn't be doing a whole episode dedicated to one subject, but there's just so much in this space thing that you just can't ignore it. And
I agree. The space thing deserves a whole show because I think it's one of the biggest deceptions around. I mean, it's such a big lie that if you realize this is going on, you will have to think, it will force you to think about what else they're lying about because this is such a big lie. If it's lie, you know, I'm just, I am almost to the point of just saying, that I'm 100% sure that there's something weird going up there. They saw something up when they tried to go up there. Something happened, and they've been lying to us ever since.
right, and I've actually considered that as well. I mean, there's just so many things that it could be. It could be they didn't go. It could be they did go and they found something they shouldn't have. Um, there's
Yeah,
the
they found something on the moon if they did go. But why would they just fake the whole thing? It is just so many people are questioning this now. I think at first almost started out as almost a joke.
right.
But
They ain't laughing now.
no, I'm not laughing at all. I'm concerned.
Yeah, I am too. And
I'm waiting for the masses to wake up and not accept everything they're seeing on their TV or that they're taught in school.
and that is absolutely the point of this. It's to there's for some reason it's become, you know, the dirty word to think outside the box, and don't be afraid to think outside the box. You can question everything. Don't accept everything, not even what you find that is contrary to your personal belief system. You have to consider the possibilities. You don't have to actually indoctrinate that. So uh, I think that's the point about what we do on this show is we like to consider the possibilities, take them and tear them apart, and show you, yeah, there's some strange stuff going on. We're not, and again, like we said before, we're not saying that we didn't go to the moon. We're not saying we went to the moon either. And I think that is the point about what we do. I do have one last thing I want to show before we wrap up for this episode. And if you have something else that you want to do, though.
Oh no, go ahead.
All right, I am going to switch over here just a moment. All right. Okay, I was reading an article online and it got my attention because I don't know. Uh, we're going to have a whole episode on flat earth very, very soon in the future, I hope. But I wasn't really researching flat earth. I just happened to run across this. This is a website that talks about, space stuff, okay? And which is what I was, of course, researching. And let me just show you what I found. That. This is a computer generated model of the Earth's actual shape, which shows its shape like a pear, an oblate spheroid. And I've heard this mentioned before: oblate spheroid, pear shape, etc., etc.
By DeGrasse.
Yeah, oh, don't man, don't even get me
Yeah.
started on that guy.
Oh,
I just do not like him. I didn't even like him before I started researching stuff about space. I don't like that guy. There's something about him that
just
just drives.
he's just a priest for the scientific church.
Scientism. That's what it's called.
Totally. He's a high priest of scientism.
I don't know if we live on this. I've never seen a picture like this. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, how come the pictures they're showing us from space are perfectly round?
Well, I've got to. I'm going to read you a small bit.
This shape is not in any way perfectly circular.
No, not at all.
That much distortion from a true circle would be evident in a picture from space, even, I believe.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, but everything that we see from space is perfectly, is spherical. Everything's perfect.
Right.
Which should tell you right there, alarm bells. You got the science guys saying we live on an oblate spheroid and it's pear shaped. But you don't see any pictures of an oblate spheroid or pear shaped.
Well, that's the first time I've ever seen even a depiction of what he was talking about. I had to just imagine the pictures we see from space with a little bit of W in the middle. Really, that's the first time I've even seen a depiction of that. So it's strange.
Well, obviously, this is, what they're trying to say that the Earth is shaped like.
Then how come the photos don't reflect that? I mean,
exactly.
It's the obvious question.
I'm just going to read a quick paragraph before we get out of here. I just want to make sure I'm on the right. Okay, it says satellites have added a new. This is right in here. Sorry. This paragraph. Satellites have added a new dimension of however you say that, geodesy. The science of surveying mapping the Earth's surface. By revealing the gravitational anomalies of the Earth, they have helped scientists to outline the real shape of the Earth. In addition, satellites have become accurate tools to determine location, distance, and direction, which are all useful in several fields such as navigation, geophysical prospecting, civil engineering, and intercontinental missile deployment. That's nice. Even the pear-shaped Earth assumes that the equator is an exact circle. It is not so in reality. It is elliptical. My question is, if all these satellites can help, which it does go on to say they're using, lasers and all this other stuff. If there's all these satellites that can help map the Earth, the Earth, why can't they put a camera on one and just show us a picture? I'm okay with that. Just show me a picture.
I think that is what most flat earthers just keep repeating. Either get in a plane and fly a special plane and fly all the way over Antarctica and fly back up. Okay, that would prove it to me somehow.
Right.
And I don't know. They could fake that too, but you know what I'm saying. If I got to go on the plane myself with them, then I would believe it. Or I don't know. Like you said, all these satellites, they're not giving a 24-hour shot of the Earth spinning, and that's what you'll hear on almost every flat Earth channel is why. We have all these cameras up there, supposedly. Just think of all the satellites. But, we need a high orbit, something that's orbiting really high up to, get a good picture of it. But that's the big point, because they'll do that and they'll animate it, but you can tell that's not. It's just animated. The
Right.
clouds don't morph like they should in a natural way. They didn't go do that. So uh, that's what you got to realize. They're not putting out 24-hour rotation of the Earth, and why wouldn't they? That's cool. I want to see that, don't you?
I do.
I would watch that and just have that as like a background image playing.
I mean, how hard is it? I mean, they can do this, which is supposedly showing us the actual shape. Then why don't you actually take a photo of it?
Right. And why do you have to have artists do everything?
Right. They say because they have to. That's not an answer. I don't want because you have to. I want a picture of the Earth. A real picture of the Earth. Not a generated picture of the Earth. Not a composited picture of the Earth. I want a picture of the Earth. And if they want people to shut up about this stuff, why don't they just do it? Period. And that's what makes my eyebrows go up on that one. Because, if they can do this, probably cost, $80 billion or something, to take to do this, why can't they just take, a GoPro, slap it on a
Well, they could, and they're not giving, they're not panning the camera around a whole lot. There always seems to be that, what would you call it, the fourth wall.
Yep.
There may even be a third, more walls than that. They just don't seem to pan around a whole lot, and it's just the whole thing's fishy. And God, the more you look into it, you just run into hundreds of examples like we've been showing you that I bet we haven't even gotten the tip of the iceberg, right?
Right.
Of all the crazy things out there that just scream this is all fake. And then you got to ask yourself, why are they faking it? And I think that is probably the billion-dollar question.
Yes, it is. I mean, my last point, I think, is they've said we started off, they said we lived on that. Then they said that we lived on this. Then they said that we lived on an oblate spheroid. That's an oblate spheroid, by the way. This is not. I don't know where they. That is an oblate spheroid.
Well, I would, again, I'm just taking DeGrasse's word for it. I thought it was pear-shaped because he mentioned pear-shaped. I didn't even look up the actual shape.
Right.
That's not pear-shaped.
No, it's not.
It's just an oval.
Well, if you say that this
Well,
is the
talking
top.
about the one you drove.
Oh.
Well, no, the one you drew. That's an oval. I don't know what that is. A badly misshapen ancient coin. It's just not. And that's not even how he described it. He said it bulged in the middle. So where are we getting this cut there from on the right side? That's just disturbing. That's just a disturbing image somehow, isn't it?
Yeah, it bothered me. This bothered me more than this one.
Okay,
up
how
here.
come the ocean on the bottom there, that bottom dent, I guess you could say, in the ocean?
Yeah, right
How
here.
come the water? Yeah, right. How come the water isn't, curving the other way? I don't understand why that would happen.
This model, I think, is omitting the water.
Okay, that's okay. So no water. That's the actual shape.
Right. So I mean, you could probably have water running, through here or something. But still, even then, I mean, come on.
Something bad happened right there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like if you were looking at a ball and it had some damage right there like that, you go, yeah, this received some major damage right here.
Well, my point to all that is, who says we don't live on this? Who says we don't live on this? It could be any one of these because there are no pictures.
And I would never subscribe to that idea through all the brainwashing I had in school and all that. if it wasn't for the fact that I know NASA's lying. I just know it in my heart. I've seen too much circumstantial evidence. I've seen the most circumstantial evidence for anything. It's hundreds of examples, guys. And so that's basically what you got to ask is what that has to be something that's really big for them to lie.
Right.
And so, and if they're lying about that, they'll lie about anything.
That is absolutely true. And the only thing that keeps us in line is, science says so. And that's not enough for me. I don't want some guy telling me what I should believe in. I want proof. And that's who I am. I like to watch for the proof. And until I get that proof, I'm on the fence. And, or at least I'm open to the possibility that we could live on any one of those.
I agree. I am on the fence also. And it just goes to show you that reality could be way different than what you think it is. And I think that's the whole theme of last year and this year. People just look into everything because it may be a different reality than what you were taught.
That is correct, man. Well, I think that about wraps up tonight's show. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. We do appreciate you guys watching us. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that like button down there. Subscribe if you're a lurker out there. We'd like to have you on board. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think. And we'll keep doing them if you keep watching them.